Hi everyone, just popping on to share a few words and understanding around rumination and also being triggered during this process. Okay, so first of all, before you ever started this process, and it's pretty new, you were in a state of being triggered, obviously, you're in a state of being anxious, being triggered at different times, okay? And when you start a process like this, what happens is that when we understand that the nervous system has been in a state of flight and fight, as in an overactive state, okay, it's going to go into a state of flight and fight. That's a normal reaction every day for in general, but I mean to be overactive, okay? So it's been in this constant state of overactivity due to the fear that's in the subconscious mind. And when we start this new practice, especially when we get to those deep breath, because it's still new, you're only building up on a short amount of time and you're going to build every week, we have to understand that we are starting to balance the nervous system for sure. And that even gets stronger in time. But in the process of going through this, we have to understand it is going to happen that you're going to be triggered. It is going to happen that you're going to feel like not back, but you're definitely going to feel really anxious. That is going to happen, okay? What will happen with the practice is that we'll no longer bounce into the sympathetic. So in other words, what'll happen is the thoughts will have less and less feeling, less and less reactivity. But for now, even if they have reactivity, even throughout the practice as you go on, we have to understand that this is a really deep fear. Really, really deep fear, as you well know. And that just doesn't go straight away, and it doesn't go overnight. It goes with the practice for sure. So, of course, I'm not saying it's easy. Of course, I'm not saying it's fine. I understand when you're in that place, it's like you get disheartened, especially when you've had some days that maybe felt a little bit better and you may feel like, oh no, here we go again, or that feeling of really uncomfortable and anxiety and just that not a nice feeling, you want it to go away. That's completely natural. But understand that will go in time, and what'll happen is the days that are okay or a little bit better, they're going to become more. Okay, and the days that are triggered and feel like you are ruminating or that you are really anxious, they're going to become less. So I like to think it like a little bit like a roller coaster, to be honest. So it's like you'll be up and down a bit until it eventually becomes like more of a balance, okay? So understand that it is natural throughout this process to go back into where you feel triggered, back into where you feel like you're hit with that feeling of anxiety, that fear, that panic. It is a natural response because you've been in there for so long, okay? So obviously it takes time to balance the nervous system fully. But as I said, eventually you will less bounce into that place, okay? Because it'll be less activated. And in that state, what I would recommend when you're in there, I know it's easier said than done, again, being there, so I completely understand. Sometimes you can use a little thing that I would recommend. And do you know when you're kind of triggered, it's very hard to really get any rationality in that moment, like really, really challenging. Because what generally happens is you're triggered for some reason, and either the thoughts come in and you're triggered in different way, and you start going off with the thoughts, and then more thoughts are added on to that and you feel more anxious, and it turns into a massive thing, and it feels really, really frightening. So there's this technique, you could try it for yourself, and it's called the stop technique. Okay, so when you're feeling yourself going down that path, now you may just go down that path because that's your way to deal with it, is to try and ruminate and trying to analyze the thought. And if that's what you're going to do, that's okay to do that. You don't have to try and stop it. But if you're aware and you can, the stop technique is S is to stop. So stop whatever you're doing in that moment if you can, just for a second or two. Then the T is take a deep breath. So if you can, the more you can connect to your breath while you're in that situation, what we'll do is generally when we're in having these intrusive thoughts, we're in here, like we're in the mind. It's like we're disconnected from here to here and we're just all in here. So taking a deep breath and feeling it into your tummy. You don't have to have your eyes closed. You could be in the supermarket here. You could be anywhere. Really dig deep into the belly as you breathe in and as you breathe out, and take a few breaths of them. O then is observe. Observe then kind of, if you get a chance to observe yourself before you really go down that rabbit hole, okay? And then P is proceed. So proceed with the rest of your day. Now, obviously at the start, because it's pretty new, doing the practice, that can seem like a very challenging and really challenging thing to do, because I've been there, and I understand that when someone says, you know, try and take a deep breath, it's completely foreign because you're just gone off with the thought and you want to ruminate and you want to analyze. And if that's the case, do that. Okay, if you're gone and you just can't come out of it, it's just too hard to even settle yourself, that's okay. Do that. In time, the OCD program and all the exercise will take effect, and eventually you won't go off with the thought, okay? But if you can, and you're aware of it, use this stop technique. So S is stop what you're doing. T is take deep breaths. So take a few of them. In through the nose, out through the nose, not through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the nose. And feel the breath like your focus is bringing it into the tummy. And see if you could bring your awareness into the belly, okay? O is observe. Observe kind of where you are. Observe what you're doing. Because generally we are, when this happens, I would say it's a lot of unconscious. Yeah, so the unconscious, which is the subconscious, is in control, 95%, as we talked about. But generally it's so unconscious that you're in the thought, ruminating, analysing. You have them feelings before you even know it. You might even be aware of the thoughts you have been thinking, but you know the feeling you have been thinking, or the feeling of how you've been feeling, really. So you're in it before you nearly know what you're thinking, okay? So that's your guidance system to bring you back to here and now as much as you can. But as I said, because it's early days, if I was just using this as a management tool for you to use, I wouldn't recommend it. But because you're going to have the daily practice, you can start implementing this. If you hadn't had a daily practice, I would never say this to somebody, because I know, number one, if someone said that to me, I'd be saying that's completely irrational, because my mind is gone to, like, I need to figure that out, and I'm in a state of panic. So it's gone too far before I realise that I can actually do that. So that's okay. But if you can, bring that technique in. Stop what you're doing. Observe where you are. Just stop what you're doing. T, take a deep breath, and take a few of them deeply into the belly. Your eyes can be open. You don't have to. You can be anywhere, outside, in a meeting, at work, anywhere. Oh, observe. Observe kind of where you are. Start looking around you. Observe kind of like what's going on, where you're actually going with these thoughts. And P, proceed then with the rest of the day. And you might need to do that a few times, okay? Or as many times as you want. But basically, with the practice, and overall with the practice and time, especially when you go to 31 minutes a day in the OCD breath, it's very easy to bring in these stop techniques, because there's very little reaction. In other words, you're not being triggered as much. So therefore, it's much more rational and doable in that situation. But it's just a little tip. Maybe you could try it for yourself and see how you feel. Now, with anything that we try first, it feels like it's really not going to work, and probably that it's the feeling of what's been predominantly showing up, which is fear, is stronger, and that's natural. But as we bring down the fear and the anxiety with the practice, as I said, therefore you're going to be able to potentially bring these things in throughout the day when you do need something as well. Also, another thing would be maybe to do the left nostril breathing. So left nostril breathing you do before the OCD breath. But I want you to know that you can use that throughout the day as many times as you want. Now, obviously, if you're out and about, you mightn't get a chance to do that. So you could bring in the stop technique. But when you are somewhere that you actually can close your eyes and take the 3 minutes out, do the left nostril breathing, okay? So I hope that helped. But understand that it's okay. Understand that. Try and understand. I know this sounds paradoxical, but don't be not expecting that to happen, okay? Because that will happen for sure. There is going to be definitely times you're going to be triggered, especially earlier on in the course. And once you kind of not taking it that, take the good days and really take the great days and bask in them, because the day that maybe you're not feeling so good, know that the next day potentially is going to be good as well. The main thing is that you keep doing your practice, and as I said, there'll be more good days than not, okay? I hope that helped, and let me know in the comments below. Thank you.